Ladies and gentlemen, is this the greatest Genji to have ever graced Overwatch? No. That's the short answer to that, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome to the channel. Now, what we're going to do in this video is break down this player's, well, actual play. So this is Super. Now, if you guys are not familiar with who Super is, he's the main tank, or one of the main tank players for the San Francisco Shock. Champion of Overwatch League last year. Incredible tank player. DPS player? Maybe not. However, look at what's happening here. This is Shock versus the Boston Uprising. And before we begin this video, we just need to understand, well, the difference in these teams, to put it kind of, well, politely. So, Boston are basically the worst team in the league by a very long shot. They have got a ton of problems. The tank player Fusions, I think, is really good. Punk is okay. Halo is okay. Myungbong is okay. Jerry has some, like, really good moments of play and inspiration. Color Hex as well is a good player. So, what's the problem with Boston? Why are they so disjointed? Why do they suffer loads of ridiculous problems? And what the hell is going on? And why would Shock decide to play, well, their main tank player on a Genji in this game? And this is like ultimate actual BM. It is actually disgusting what we're about to see. So I'm going to show you guys this. I'm going to break it down, and we're going to watch Super from his perspective and just check this out, because there's a lot of things which happen here, and I'm going to try my best to break this down so it's easily digestible, because Overwatch is such a complex game. A lot of things happen, but let's see what happens here. Let's bring the speed back up to normal, and let's go for it. All right, so we see Boston taking up position, which is pretty standard inside the train there, which is fine. They kind of fall down onto Shock. They get a pick onto Twilight. This is all good stuff for Boston. At this moment in time, it's like, well, okay, Shock are going to get a push here. They're going to play pretty safe because they need to wait for their support to come back, and then they end up losing, well, both their tanks, and it's pretty much game over for this push, and they've pushed the payload to the corner, and that's kind of it. So watching this game live, I'm like, okay, this is fine, you know, whatever. Shock are being cheeky. They've got Super on Genji. He's played Genji on ladder. So that's his qualification. He doesn't care. And I remember, of course, these guys are pro players. So Super's Genji is going to be better than any Genji I'm ever going to be able to do, right? Let's just get that. And the majority of people watching this video, like, he will be a better Genji player than all of us. But in Overwatch League terms, is he going to be a better Genji player than the other Overwatch League actual DPS players? Well, Overwatch is a game that's based on creating, well, space for your team to do stuff. And you've each got a role, haven't you? Tanks create space. Supports enable the tanks to create space. DPS kill the enemy team in said space. Also, supports assist the DPS as well. And a lot of stuff like that goes on. That's a pretty simplistic way of like, doing a quick overview of that. But just watch Super here, right? So, we've got Boston. Like, just, you guys can kind of see him. He's jumping around. He's getting destroyed. He's killed. Boston actually did a very good thing here, and they engaged Shock on their terms. So I'm just going to bring this back, and we're going to watch this again. Watch this engagement here. Keep your eyes on the Boston team. We'll pause it. Well, I was going to pause. I'll pause here instead. The point I'm trying to make here is Boston engage onto Shock first. And this is probably the only time we see that in the entire match. Because if you let the other team have momentum, more often than not, they control the flow of the fight. And a team like Shock, very aggressive and very clinical, they're going to rip you apart, especially with a dive comp, with what's basically what they're running here. So again, watch this as it goes through. Boston engage. Smurf dives into the back line. Look at Smurf. He's not doing anything to Winston, right? He was totally cut off from the team because the rest of the team, for Boston, just pushed straight into the team and destroyed them, right? Great play, and Super's dead on the ground, as we see. So that's really good from Boston. So at this moment in time, I'm like, okay, Boston seems to be playing quite well here. Their team comp is a little bit questionable. Using the Lucio instead of a Brig is pretty questionable, to be honest. Obviously, it's there for these rapid engagements, of which we've just seen. So we're thinking now, or at least I'm thinking as somebody watching this, it's all over for Shock, right? Because Boston are going to play this aggressive style. They're going to get into their face, and they're going to do damage. Now, just watch what happens here. Color Hex, remember, is a Genji player. He's dead. Now, Super's at 110 health. Super did the majority of the damage to the Genji there, right? And the Genji has managed to back off. Super gets into the back line, destroys the Moira, and there's just a mess, right? But notice Color Hex. Where is he? Well, Color Hex had to go and get health, right? He's the last one left, and he's dead. He was almost dead. He was one shot. He had to get out of there. And Striker knew that and went into the back line. but it didn't really matter because Striker killed the Moira, and then they were able to capitalize. So what we actually seen was a great engagement to begin with by Boston, or let's say second fight, because the first fight they obviously won, the second fight they win comprehensively. Third fight, they get taken apart, and it's not really like, it's like, what's going on there? It's because Boston lost the initiative. And again, this is being very simplistic, and this is there's a lot of things going on here in this game. Like, tons of stuff is happening, and so for me to like break down every like minute detail, the video will be insanely long. But basically, the long and short of the story is there was just a faster engagement by Shock that time, right? Boston lost the initiative, they didn't engage, it was a bit messy, and they paid the price. Now, the problem they've got here, right, is they're engaging into, let's just come off this for a second, come off the Genji. So they're engaging into a Shock team that are ready for this engagement, right? Look at the way Shock is spread out. Winston has jumped in for Shock, so Smurf's gone in. You've got Choyobin. In fact, I'll slow this down because this is actually pretty good to watch. So Color Hex is one hit. That's because we've got a ton of damage going through from Smurf, because Smurf is, and what thing we should notice is here, Smurf's doing like a ton of cleave damage, like Winston doesn't care about barriers. Look at this, right? The defense matrix is on top of Smurf, or in and around Smurf's area, blocking damage, basically trying to stop this Jerry on the Reaper doing tons of damage and deleting the Winston. So these are all these like little minute things which are going on. So when you say like, oh yeah, Boston had the initiative, they engaged, or oh yeah, Shock had the initiative, there's all these little things going on. However, what Shock have done here is they've anticipated the engagement from Uprising. They could see where it was coming from. The engagement begins, and then Shock start to just dismantle this. Look at when Reinhardt's won, Super's dashing through them. Smurf's doing tons of damage. Choyobin is taking a lot of damage on his mech, sure, but it doesn't matter because Defense Matrix is what he was there for. This is just, like, really clinical play, like very, very clinical play from Shock, and they're pretty much going to be able to clean this up. Super dies again, whatever. I mean, we haven't really seen insane play off Super. What we've seen is, like, okay play, but everybody else in Super's team is basically the best in the world at their role, or up there for top 3 players in the role they play. So they can do stuff, they can make things happen. And this is what is the big thing I want to drive home to you guys about this video, and why Super is able to do what he can do in this match or in this series, and actually, I mean, look at that, and just make a mockery of, but basically just make them look stupid. Boston is because Shock are so well drilled, they create so much space, they're just an amazing team. This gives space for a lesser player to actually get stuff done. But when you've got players like Striker on your team, I mean, we're just going to go back here and we're going to watch this, because this is disgusting. Like, you guys notice what happened there. There was a double kill. And watch how this happens, right? So you've got Super's coming back from spawn. He's got his blade out. It's all beautiful, whatever. You've got Striker in the back line. Probably, I'm going to say he is the best Tracer player, I think, at the moment. He goes in, pulse bomb in, boom, 2 kills. Oh, well, Bob's your uncle. Everyone's loving a bit of that. It's beautiful. He goes into the back line. He don't care, whatever. Let's just do some damage. It's easy win, right? This is a very easy win. But then you'll notice something that happens, right? And this shows you the level of skill of Super on this hero, right? Now, he might just be memeing here. Also, why can we still hear the audio? We've actually broke it. Anyway, he might still be memeing, but what is this blade? Everyone's dead. And he kind of, like, he spams his camera around. He's like, yeah, okay, that was a bad blade. Might have been a meme. I think it was just a bad blade. I think he was getting carried away. Now, the thing you've got to remember about Super is he's a tank player, right? And a main tank player at that. He understands space. He knows where the space is. A lot of his job is creating space for the Tracers and the Genjis and the DPS on his team to go out and do damage. So what he's doing is he's kind of like, yeah, okay, he doesn't have the mechanics of a Overwatch League level DPS player. But what he does have is the knowledge on positioning, the spatial awareness and everything. The Overwatch brain is huge. He knows what he's doing. And we're going to pause this. We're not going to pause it. Excuse me, what happened there? Okay, so Boston's engage, right, was a thing of, I was going to say of beauty. It was not a thing of beauty. It was absolutely bottom of the barrel. I don't know what they're doing here. So watch this, right? They come through nice and slow. Now, I've got great memories of Fusion dropping an Earth Shatter in this area. If any of you guys were fans of the Overwatch World Cup back in 2018, it was a beautiful time. Anyway, moving on. So look at this, right? They're coming through the door. It's beautiful. They've come out as a team, right? This actually is pretty good. Now, I'm going to pause this. Look behind, right? There's nobody here, right? What's going on? Well, there's Color Hex over there, yeah? So he's come through the door there with Jerry. They're on a bit of a flank. You've got Violet. You've got Super. You've got Twilight. Watch what happens to the Genji, right? The Genji's getting ready for a blade. Now, this isn't really great, what's happened here, right? Because I think Jerry goes for a port. Does he? No, he doesn't. So this here is weird because Boston have basically ran out, and they're getting absolutely shoveled with tons of damage, right? Smurf's got his ultimate ready to go. He's just like putting loads of damage in. Super's in the face. You know, he can dash through, he can deflect, he can do what he likes. But all Boston are doing here is waiting for Color Hex to come in with a blade. And watch what happens to Color Hex, right? Here he is, right? Pops up in front of the Genji. Now, he should have known Genji was there. This is weird, right? Really, really weird. Because he would have seen Genji, the Zen, sorry, firing away from this angle. And I don't know why he's just decided to ignore him. It's almost as if the pressure is in, the fight is in. We're losing the fight. Quick, guys, we need a blade. So look at this. Discord Orb is on him. Zen is blasting him. Look at Twilight. In fact, we'll go on board with him so you guys can see this. So I think is this one. So he's at full health at the moment, right? He's got Discord Orb on him. He's bashed. He's damaged. He whips his blade out. He's destroyed. It is actually terrible. Like, that is just throwing the game. Like, the Genji, yeah, it was crap off Color Hex, but also it was just not great off Boston. Like, it's so weird. Like, if we go back to the start and we go back to the first engagement, well, the first engagement they won because they got a pick, but the first real team fight, they win that because they're positive, because they engage quick, they beat Shock at their own game. And that's the only way you're going to beat Shock. You have to just try and, like, out-aggress them. You have to take the game by the scruff of its neck and just say, like, look, we're doing it this way, so you guys are going to have to deal with this. And they just didn't do that. And they just got absolutely wrecked as a result. And that's like, okay, whatever. So, okay. Super's around and he's spamming away. He's just trying to build a bit of ult. Whatever. This is fine. This bit kind of made me laugh because I think he gets caught on the wall here. Yeah. So he kind of jumped back, got a bit caught on the wall. It's like, yeah, little bits like that. You wouldn't expect a top tier Genji to do that. But he doesn't care. He's super. He literally doesn't care. And it's like massive BM. So this is, again, a great dive by Boston. Not by Boston. It's a great dive into a pit of despair by Boston. But it's a great dive by Shock. They come in. They rip them apart. It's clinical, right? It's almost... The way Boston are playing is almost like apologetic. It's like, yeah, we're Boston. Please don't beat us too bad. Thank you. It's terrible to see. Like, the team just has no drive. And you can see it by the way they play. And obviously, it's a massive, like, FU to the team when you've got the main tank player of the enemy team just playing DPS. It's like, what the hell? In fact, the only time this happened before, I think, was Gesture for Spitfire when he played Widow. Yeah. I think that was against Florida, maybe. But that was back when they were the worst team. So look at this. Super's just in a great position to do what he likes. They're winning the fight. Collar Hex, I'm going to whip my blade out and destroy you. Whatever. It doesn't really matter, right? They've got the kill. The payload's getting pushed in. It's not an ideal blade. I don't think he cares. He just wanted to destroy Collar Hex. I mean, if you're a tank player killing the DPS player, you're going to, like, that is ultra BM, right? You've literally solo bladed the guy. You don't care. This would have been a better time to use the blade. I bet Genji would have kept the blade, you know, whatever. I don't think he cares, right? Again, it just shows you the gulf in skill between these two teams. Like, be under no illusions here, guys. There is no way that Super would play Genji. I mean, look, he's the only one that dies in this fight. But there's no way that Super would play Genji against any other team, right? It is too risky, right? Because if he's locked on the DPS and the enemy team just destroy him, well, there's nothing that can be done, right? You're fighting a 5v6. It doesn't matter how good you are. You're not going to win a 5v6, right? Unless you're against Boston, which is the case here. Ladies and gentlemen, which is unfortunate. All right, let's push this forward. Okay, so this is a defensive phase now. And Super, well, he's been like, okay so far. But like, it's not great, is it? Like, we're not seeing like sick plays or anything like that. It's almost like he needs to warm up to it. Well, I've got news for you guys. This is the first game in the series. And if you guys go and watch the other games in the replay viewer, you'll see that he warms up. And he actually starts to warm up now. And it's really clear when he does. Okay, so that wasn't really a very good fire strike there by Fusion. Straight at the Genji. He's not great. Look at this, though. He's waiting for that big... Look at the ult charge, right? Look at that ult charge there. Such a simple thing for Genji to do. It's this charge through the enemy team. He knows he's not going to get killed instantly. No one on the Boston team can just take him out unless the Reaper gets him point blank. But he knows that's not going to happen. So he waits. They push through. He goes straight through with a dash. Gets loads of ultimate charge. And this is where it kind of goes a bit south. This is him showing, like, getting teabagged. Oh, dear. But, like, yeah, I bet Genji would have won that, right? I know we're talking about really small margins here of error, but an actual Genji player would have probably killed that Moira, and it would have been fine. But what actually I don't understand here is I think Shock lose this fight, and I'm not... No, Boston lose this fight, and I'm not too sure how they... Oh, I see. Okay, what's going on here? What is going on here? Yeah, like, I don't think they really should have lost that, maybe. Maybe I'm expecting a little bit too much, but that seemed to me like Boston kind of were a bit all over the place. Maybe it was 50-50 after that initial engage, but whatever. So, yeah, Super's going back. He's almost got a blade. Look at the ult charge on Color Hex. He's 52%. Like, he's in the doldrums because he hasn't been able to dash through the enemy team, right? This team comp from... I mean, we really need to talk about this, actually. The team comp of Boston just needs to change. It is not good enough. Running this Lucio is not working, and I don't know why they keep running the Lucio. Well, okay, no, I do know why, because they're persisting with fusions on the Reinhardt. He should not be on the Reinhardt here. He should be going for the Winston. They should get rid of this Lucio, and he should be playing the Brig. You've got to remember, guys, when you're at this level of the game, you can't afford to mess around here. All right, Shocker messing around, which kind of defeats the point I was just trying to make. They got a Zen. I mean, Zen... Well, actually, we have been seeing a bit of Zen this weekend. But, I mean, the main thing is they've got Super on DPS, right? They're messing about. But look at Uprising, right? It's just not... I mean, they've got Jerry on the McCree, I guess, to try and take out the Genji, but it doesn't really work like that, does it? It's... The Brig would be more effective against this, because if he's charging for your team there, you might be able to bash him, right? You can whip shot him away when he uses his blade. There's loads of things you can do. Whereas the Lucio, all right, you can beat, yeah, you can boot, but that's it, right? So Super just goes in the back here and just slashes like crazy. But this is where he starts to warm up, and I think he's starting to feel it now, because he's getting some nice dashes, some nice kills. It's all over the place. That was a beautifully... We're going to go back and watch this. It was a beautifully executed little bit of dive here by Boston. By Shock, sorry. Watch this now. Watch how Super goes in. So we know where it happens. It's on the mini health, right? Look at that. They've corralled them into the corner. Super just dashes through. Smurf's got them blocked in. Striker goes in the back. They just basically got them into this small area and then destroyed them, right? Maximum damage. It's so good. It's good to watch it. And this isn't really... You know, we talk about this being, yeah, it's top tier Overwatch. It is, but this is like one of the best teams versus the worst team. The gap is massive. I think Boston would struggle against a lot of contenders teams, to be honest. In fact, I bet you Hurricane from British, Spitfire, British Hurricane, probably would beat Boston, which is, I mean, make of that what you will. Or at least give them a very good game. No, I think they'd beat them. I think they'd honestly beat them. Anyway. Let's just take a look at what's going on here, right? They know, or you would expect Fusions to have Slam right about now. So if he's going to get super aggressive, you've got to be ready for that. So this is one thing I'd be worried about as a Genji player. But again, they're all like sort of pushed together in a corner. They're getting beat. We get an Earth Shatter off Fusions. I don't know what that's about. It's just a total mess, right? But I guess the point I'm trying to make in this video is, yeah, it's cool to see a main tank play DPS. But this is not possible without this team, right? And it's also not possible against any other team than Boston, right? Boston are... You know, I mean, I don't want to sit here and rip Boston apart, but they literally are bottom feeders in the league, right? And it's kind of embarrassing what's happening. They need to get a win. They need to get something to get some sort of momentum. And it pains me because Fusions is my boy. I mean, that dash there... I mean, again, I'm not going to pause it, but just look at the... I don't really know what to say, right? It's just heartbreaking watching it. Like, this is good movement here by Super. He's playing quite well. Again, the momentum's just shifted back. This blade is like, I don't think we needed that, but who cares? Let's just blade them. It's like, whatever. Like, the Genji blade, it is a fantastic ultimate, but it's just crazy. Like, I'm watching this now. I'm a little bit lost for words. Boston literally fell apart there. They had tools to be able to do stuff, and they did nothing. I mean, let's just go back and watch it. I'm going to go from the aerial point of view, right? Go back again, and we'll just chill here, right? So look at this, right? As this is breaking out, Color Hex has got a blade. Is he going to use the blade? Okay. Well, they've been hit with Sigma's ulti. Bomb goes in from D.Va. Color Hex is dead, so that's why there's no blade. Actually, good play by Smurf to take him out. And then we see Zen gets aggressive on Twilight. That lets Boston just push... that lets Shock push forward. Then we've got a blade. I don't think they needed the blade, but you can see from the aerial view the way they just dismantled them, right? They just had an answer for everything Boston have got, and Boston need to make changes again. And this is like it's not the moral of the story, but this game again, they've come out and they're like, right, no, we're going to try it again. And it's just, I don't know what they're trying to do here. And one thing we will notice here, like this again is just a massively beautiful engage, right? Let's just get them as they're coming out. They're piddling around. Let's just wreck them. That's what they've done. It's ultimate BM, but if you can get away with it, just do it, right? Makes Boston look terrible. You're crushing the opposition. That's what they're doing, right? Now notice what happens here, right? And I'm not going to say this is the reason why, but look at that. I don't know how he ended up there. In fact, we need to go back and check that. How the hell did he end up there? Let's get on board with Fusions. How the hell? But notice what happens here. Fusions picks a dive tank. Okay, it's not the ideal dive tank, but picks one. And then just YOLOs in. Oh, it's whip shot. Frick. Look at what happens though now. I mean, I'm going to spoil it. They will capture the point now. They'll be able to, well, maybe not capture the point. That's a bit premature, but they'll be able to take control of the payload, right? This is because they got aggressive and suddenly jumped into the face of shock. And this is something like when I watch Overwatch League, right? Okay, I'm not, I mean, it's not okay. I am not a professional coach. I'm nowhere near a professional coach. I'm just an avid fan of Overwatch and Pro Overwatch. But when I see stuff like this, it seems to me that it's quite clear that Boston were just in a little... They're basically playing out set plays over and over again. And when they're not working, they just do it again and they do it again. They're always looking for the same engage. They're very easy to download. They're very easy to read. And they were able to just rip them apart. I mean, what you've watched there as I was just talking is Shock just backed off, right? Regrouped, waited, went in again. They know it's in overtime. They know they've got the ultimates. They know they can make it happen, and they make it happen. But why did it take Boston so long to actually change? Well, I mean, the Boston just changed because they were going into overtime and Fusions had to touch. But that gave them a bit of urgency. If we just go back and we sort of see that again, it gives them a bit of urgency, right? It gives the team a bit of urgency, which breaks the mold. So going back to the point I was trying to make, it was just sad as well by Color Hex there getting completely wrecked. They just get a kill, but this, like, you know, they back off here, right? Super's out. Smurf goes in for a bit more, but he's going to get out again. Striker's out. They're ready to get... Well, they're getting ready to re-engage. But the point I'm trying to make is Boston, at no point, were able to shake things up. Now, I don't know what that's about. It seems to me they are too rigid with their game plans. It seems to me that they're not flexible enough. It seems to me that teams know exactly what they're going to do, and there's no spice to their gameplay. But as soon as they're forced to do something different, they start getting some okay results. Well, I hope that actually breaks down what happened here, guys. Super is not the best Genji in the league. Far from it, right? But this was a ultra BM game, really, and they were allowed to do it. Boston let them do it. And it's kind of sad, and Boston do need some big changes. All right, guys, I've been Stylosa. I hope you enjoyed this pro breakdown of an Overwatch League game. And yeah, if you like this kind of stuff, let me know in the comments below. Remember, you can follow me on everything, which is @Stylosa, and I'll catch you lovely lot on the next video. Toodaloo.